got the car jacked up, the wheel taken off. If your car's stock, you just need to remove the factory caliper. 2 15mm nuts, one right here and one down here on the corresponding one, which I already started loosening. And then if your dual caliper set up, you need to remove your 15mm bolt right here and down here on the corresponding for the bottom. Once you take your calipers off, we'll remove the rotor. Alright, now that you removed both calipers, I just set this one down on the arm and this one over on that arm. Get it out of the way. Then take your Allen ring wrench. Alright, now that you got your setting nut out, you can remove your rotor. Set that aside, and now we're going to work on the CV axle. Remove this nut right here, and you look just past, and we're going to take an E12 and remove all 6 of those bolts that ties the CV axle into the diff. To remove the CV axle from this side, you need a 12 point, and I believe it's a 30mm to break the axle nut off. Alright, now that you got your axle nut off, most people, if they haven't already separated the bearing, you will put a slide hammer attachment on it and slide hammer it out. But in my case, I'll insert a clip now of how I removed it the previous night when it broke down at a gas station and locked up.
Oh yeah, I can see better now.
Yeah, I think it fucked up the new dual calipers.
Oops, you got your shadow in it. There we go. Do it again. Yeah, it's totally broken.
This one's finger loose.
Check that motherfucker out. Show me.
I've had them separate before. That thing's fucked. It's going apart. It's totally seized.
Okay, go ahead. Is that a bearing?
Yep.
So it's on my. Ooh,
That's what I'm trying to do.
Oh, okay. So all of those are bearings?
Yep.
Oh, look at all them little bearings.
That's why we locked up the bearing. Now that you've seen that footage, on mine I can just, and the bearings separated already. Now we're going to have to work on getting the inner race, the outer race actually, of the bearing out of the hub, and the 2 inner races off this hub without damaging it. You have one on this side and one on this side. And before you try to remove this outer race, there is a C-clamp, circlip that's up in here you have to remove. Okay, now that you got the clip out, now we'll go under and remove the the rest of the CV axle out from the diff out there using an E12 Torx bit. Alright, now that we get down to the diff and we used a E12 socket, I like to push back the CV boot and make sure it's seated on it before I go to town with it. There's 6 of these. Now that we got this undone, and undone on that side too, now we're going to take and release the sway bar down with this bolt right here and the corresponding nut on the other side. So you need a socket and a closed-in wrench to release the sway bar down so we can get the CV axle off. There's one attachment for the sway bar here and there. And that's the corresponding bolts and nuts right up there. And we also got the inner race off the hub by cutting them. This is the 2 inner races of the bearing. Cut them and then took both of them. And then I took a screwdriver and a hammer, wedged it inside of there, stuck it, and then rotated the whole race and then pulled it out off the hub. Alright, what we have here is basically a bolt through your hub and the inner and outer race of the wheel bearing. This is what your tool looks like, not this part. You basically put your bolt through one of these and one of these on it with this.
Can't see that. There you go.
You basically build it up like this while your bolt goes through, and the more you tighten this on this end, it pulls the bolt through and pulls this part in and pulls the bearing out of the hub and into this cylinder. And that's where we're at right now. We started with it right here and we moved the bearing that much out.
Explain to them why there's a bolt there instead of that.
Instead of this, has stripped. You can see the threads in there. It's pretty messed up. I love old Harbor Freight tools. They break. So went to Lowe's and picked up this bolt and 2 nuts. And then I got my old trusty crescent wrench and a hammer. Alright, we just did one rotation, one more rotation, it popped off. Now you can see the setup. Let me remove this bolt real quick here. Then you pull your bolt out, which is in like that. And there's your outer race of your bearing out of the hub. We pulled it out by placing this going in through the back, putting your bolt in, and then you have that through here like so. So it comes in and hits the inner race of your bearing. Then you put this on the outer part of your hub like that. So once you tighten your bolt, as you tighten your bolt, it pulls that part in towards you until it slides out of your hub. Now that we got all that out, we're going to press the new bearing inside the hub and then the hub itself into the trailing arm and put the wheel back on. Alright, here's the new bearing. It really don't matter which way it goes. Goes both ways here. That's the part number that's on the box there. It's off of eBay. I don't know what manufacturer it is. But we're going to put this in. Get it lined up there as best as we can. It's crooked. Alright, now that we got the bearing pressed, I used this one right here and pushed it in there and tapped it with a hammer all the way around in a circular motion to get it in even. And now we're going to put that clip that we took out before in, and then we're going to put the rest of the hub back together. Alright, now that we got Alright, now that we have our circlip in, now we can press the outer part of the hub into the bearing. Slowly but surely. And like that. Alright, we almost have it all pressed in. This is the setup we're using. Have one flange right there. The bolt going through. The other flange right here. And we are taking our wrench and we are tightening it. And every time we tighten it, it slowly goes into and presses into the bearing. Alright, now that we have it pressed back in, we are going to put our CV axle back in and connect it to the diff right back there. And then put our sway bar back up. And then put our rotor. And then both brakes back on. And our wheel back on. And you're all done. Alright, now that we got our CV axle and we tightened all 6 of the E12 Torx bolts, and we tightened our 30mm 12-point axle bolt to get the CV axle in. Now we're going to move on to our sway bar and put it back up. I believe it's 13mm. We put our stock brake caliper with the 2 16mm bolts. And then we put our dual caliper back on after we put our rotor on and put our setting screw in. And then this one was also 2 16mm bolts. And now we have a new wheel bearing. And now we just gotta put the tire on and we're ready to rock and roll. Hope you enjoyed today's video. Like, comment, and subscribe. Stay tuned for the next.